Welcome back to the daily discussion. Did you know one of the most selfish things you can do is skip your own self-care routines? So let me start with what do I mean by self-care routines? So expanding your knowledge could be one. Taking care of your physical fitness, taking care of your mental fitness, taking care of your sleep, your nutrition, all those things are self-care routines. And by skipping those, we basically ensure that very soon down the line, we will not be capable of helping out more than one person at a time. And by more than one person, I mean you become the burden to somebody else because you can't take care of yourself. And that's a problem. Then again, what are the excuses that people tend to make but when they say, oh, I'm going to skip sleeping, and they say it's because of work? Well, that's helping somebody else, right? At the end of the day, you're helping somebody else with your work. You should be, at least. That's kind of the point of it. And or you're going to say you blame your kids. By say blame, I use that word intentionally because you're going to say, well, I have to do this because of my kids. But here's the problem with that. If they heard it from their own point of view, you're going to say, well, I sacrificed my time for you. Well, they're going to hear, you didn't take care of yourself because of me. And now you just have blamed them. And because they can interpret that as, if it weren't for me, you would have taken care of yourself. But odds are you would have just found something else because that's just what you've been taught growing up potentially. Or you heard from society that that's just how it's supposed to be. But they're starting to notice more and more, and studies are showing, even with these special operations groups, that they're trying to implement more sleep and better nutrition so they can operate at a higher level for longer. Because if they don't, then all of a sudden they break down. More injuries happen, more blue on blue issues or whatever. All these different things start to compound. And then eventually you can't be there for somebody when they need you because you don't have the strength or capabilities any longer because you haven't taken care of yourself. So think about that next time when you want to go ahead and say like, oh, I'll skip it this time. Well, if you continue to do that, you won't be able to be there when those emergency situations happen. So for us, that kind of happened with my son, a couple years ago when he started having seizures. Because I was able to I was working on my own self-care routines, I was able to be there for him when he needed it in those moments. Prior to that, when I wasn't taking care of myself, it would have been a struggle to be able to be there and help him out in those times. So that's why it becomes important. Because in those times, those few times where you're going to really need that strength, you're not going to have it if you haven't put the work in pre-event to be able to use it. So let me know what you think about that, and if you have any questions.